Guys, I can't think of an intro. I've run out of ideas. So I'll just explode. Hi everybody, my name's King Newsme. I asked you guys what episode of the Haunting Hour you wanted to see me talk about, and you guys surprisingly picked Spores. A lot of people say they picked it because of The Last of Us Season 2 just came out, and this episode is similar to it, which is a pretty valid point, and I thank you guys for thinking about the algorithm for me. But seriously, I thought that it would lose, especially being up against Perfect Brother and Fear Never Knocks. I mean, those episodes are great and way more requested than Spores, but I'm not complaining, honestly. I think Spores is a sleeper episode. But let's slow down for a second and let's talk about The Haunting Hour for those that don't know. The Haunting Hour is a kids horror anthology show that aired from 2010 to 2014 on a now defunct channel called The Hub. It was created by R.L. Stine, who's known for his popular book series turned TV show, Goosebumps. The Haunting Hour is a darker version of Goosebumps and is one of the scariest kid shows of all time. With its eerie visuals, some actually terrifying monsters, and pretty dark twist endings to the episodes, this show gripped kids in the short time that it was on TV. They take short stories from some of Stein's other books, one so conveniently named The Haunting Hour, and another one called The Nightmare Hour. I have them both right here behind me. Isn't that crazy? It's almost like I have to read them for these episodes. As well as stories from other authors, which is why I like this show a lot. Spores is the 9th episode of the 4th season, which means it's the second to last episode before the show was canceled. It was written by the duo Natalie LaPointe and Greg Yolen, and they also wrote the episodes Red Eye, Terrible Love, and My Old House. The episode was directed by Ken Friss, who was a script supervisor for most of season 1 and 2, but he only directed 10 episodes himself, including my favorite episode, Scarecrow. He also directed a lot of the other Hub horror show Spooksville, including the iconic episode Critical Care. Gotta love that tonsil episode, so stupid, so fun. Like I said earlier, Spores isn't one of the episodes that I see recommended a lot. But surprisingly, here recently, Spores has started to be recommended to me more often. There's a few people like It's Unique though, who was ahead of the crowd and asked over a year ago for it. And I bet Monster Cheese is excited because he spent 8 days last month begging me for it. Some people say Spores terrified them as a kid and is one of the scariest episodes of the series, while others say it's just bad and boring all around. But I'll be the judge of that today, so let's quit yapping and get into the episode. We start this episode with a bunch of people banging on the windows of this car as they beg this Alfredo Linguini look-alike to get out of the car. We quickly learn that this is a family and they're trying to get the youngest son, Melvin, out of the car. But Melvin is hyperventilating and absolutely terrified of something. But as he looks around at his family, he slowly calms himself down. I think his mom really helped with his panic attack because rather than yell at him like everybody else, she has a calmness to her. But his dad, not so much.
Here. Hey, I made it, Buster! Out!
Yeah, because when your kid is having an episode and locks himself in a car, screaming at him is going to calm him down. Melvin does reluctantly get out of the car, and their family can now get ready for their family hiking trip. But something about the forest has Melvin spooked, and he tells his family,
I'm not going in there.
But his dad is not having it. Apparently, his dad is super competitive, and he made a bet with this guy that he and his family could make it up the mountain in 3 days because it took the other guy's family 4 days.
Well, I am not gonna let us lose to Bill Needleman. I told him it was game on.
No!
Jesus, dude, at least, like, make some noise so they know you're coming. It's like common courtesy, man. Just kind of like break a stick or something, you know? The weird ranger dude comes to check in with the family. He gives them a few pointers for the hike, some simple ones like stay on the trail, leave no trace, take your time, and don't camp anywhere but the designated camping sections. He also warns the family that they've lost contact with a couple of other hiking groups recently, and they've been in the woods for over a week and haven't made their way back yet. But hey, those families might just be taking their time. And I think the ranger realized that he was being a bit too, grim for a family that's about to go on the hike that these people are missing on, so he backtracks just a little bit.
What am I doing? Have fun.
Okay, now Melvin has a good reason for not wanting to go into the woods. That guy's definitely a psychopath. There's something not right about him. By the way, you might have recognized Ranger Jackson from the episode Scarecrow. He's played by Juan Rydinger, and he was Scarecrow in the episode. He's also in the episode Coat Rack Cowboy as John Mad Dog McCoy. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and meet the rest of the family. The mom's name is Janet, and she's played by Erica Carroll, and she was also in the episode Night of the Mummy as the mom in that episode. She was also in the show The Troop. Does anybody remember that show? Did anybody else watch that show besides me? And the dad's name is Jack, and he's played by Paul McGillian, and he was also in the episode Golem as the dad there as well. The big brother named Jack Jr. is played by Mitch Duffield, and he was in the episode My Sister the Witch as Reggie. And finally, the sister Jacqueline is played by Michelle Kraber, and she was Amelia in the episode Dreamcatcher. And of course, we have Melvin, who's played by William Ainscough, and sadly, he's not in any other episodes of The Haunting Hour, but I'm sure if there was a season 5, he would be brought back because he does an amazing job in this episode. Okay, let's get back to the episode. Melvin begs them to just let him stay in the car for a couple of days because he is terrified of death. He's been reading this book on all the deadliest things that can be found in the forest, but he's not scared of like bears or like, I don't know, beavers or something. Well, he probably is, but that's not the point. But he's scared of the things that can kill you that you can't see with a naked eye.
Lyme disease, brown recluse spiders, it's hemlock season.
Okay, dude, just don't eat hemlock and you're good. That one's an easy one to avoid. It does seem like Melvin's a bit of a hypochondriac to me, honestly. But once again, his family just tease him for being so worried, and his sibling points out that they probably should be more worried about the weird-ass ranger. And they're kind of right. Something's not right with that guy. Luckily, his mom understands him, and she asks him to just brave through it this time because it means a lot to his father. And she herself will protect him from anything that tries to hurt him.
Look, I promise I won't let anything bad happen to you.
I will.
I love the mom in this episode. She's such a good mom. Finally, the family gets moving into the woods. And to keep themselves entertained, Jack Jr. and Jacqueline, wait a minute. Their dad, who's named Jack, named his first 2 kids Jack. Weird? We'll unpack that later. Anyways, Jack and Jack entertain themselves by playing the Guess What I'm Thinking game, where you think of a word and the other person has to guess the word you're thinking of. Except they always get it right on the first try. They claim they have twin ESP so they can read each other's minds, but Melvin isn't buying it for a second.
You're not reading each other's minds. You're just agreeing. It's not impressive.
But of course, his opinion doesn't matter because they're not even sure if he is actually their little brother. But he's sad to inform them that he is, because he's already DNA tested himself and he is related to them. Damn, even he was thinking he was in the wrong family. The family make it to the first sign and it looks like they're 11 miles away. Jesus Christ, dude, what are they climbing? Mount Everest? But they are ahead of schedule, which is great for the dad. By the way, I'm just gonna call the dad and Jack Jr. just Jack because it's just easier that way in my brain. The dad thinks that they might be able to get to the top of the mountain in only 2 days and have an extra day to hike to a nearby waterfall. But Janet tells him that maybe they should have a break day at the top because Melvin isn't as fast or strong as the rest of them. And she also looks pretty tired herself. She says that maybe they should make this hike more of a fun hike rather than a competition hike. But the dad really didn't like that idea.
You're kidding, right?
He says that this family is making it up there in 3 days. Then he says that Janet and Melvin can take their time if they want. So does that mean you don't consider Janet and Melvin as part of the family? The fuck do you mean by that, man? Janet also doesn't like the way he said that because she finally confronts him and says that they are there for his vacation and the least he can do is be civil. I'm gonna complain about this dude at the end of the video. Janet is now furious with the dad and uses an excuse so she can walk away and cool down for a second. While she's away from the group, a giant cloud dust flows over her and apparently it smells good. It gets all over her clothes and it kind of looks like pollen. Whatever it is, the nice smell has seemed to quickly calm her down. And after that, she heads back to the group and we see Melvin poking at this strange root that almost looks like a hand. They make it to the first campsite and they stay there for the night. But the next morning, Janet is nowhere to be found. So they do what anyone would do in this situation. Stand there and yell mom for a couple of minutes.
Mom?
Mom?
Mom? Mom?
Yeah, seems effective. I'm sure she's gonna come right out. Somehow that doesn't work, so the dad decides that they pack everything up and go look for her.
Mom? Mom?
Melvin, we already tried this, buddy. It's not working. The family head off in the trail in hopes of running into their mom, and all 3 of the kids are rightfully super nervous and concerned for their mom. Jack and Jack try to calm each other down by making themselves feel better about the situation, but this time Melvin kind of causes the issues by being a bit of a pessimist. But their dad is tired of hearing all the bickering and talking, so he turns around to tell the kids to stay quiet and stay alert and look for their mother. The only time I'll agree with this guy in this episode. But Melvin has had enough of his dad. He calls his dad out on being a bit of a narcissist. Every vacation they go on is his vacation, and it has to go the way he plans it, and if something doesn't go that way, he gets incredibly angry about it. But their dad claims that he does that for the family. If he didn't plan and control everything that they do, then the family would be doing their own thing and not be spending time together. Which, I mean, you can plan a vacation to a place everyone wants to go to and then take turns doing stuff each person wants to do. Most of the time, I just want to play mini golf. I'm on vacation, give me a putt-putt. satisfied. That's all I want to do. I'm pretty good at it myself. Got a nice backstroke. Anyways, while the dad is yapping, their mom appears behind him, but she's acting very strange. She turns around and looks at the family and then takes off in the woods like a little gremlin or something. The family run after her, but when they get close, she disappears. And this starts the screaming again.
Mom!
Stop! It doesn't work, guys. It doesn't work. We already tried this. Good Lord. They never learn, never listen. The family trek on through the woods and find another campsite and decide to set up there. Is that not focused? What are you focused on? You focused on Sam? Why am I blurry? There's so many faces that it could be focusing on. This is not fun for me. I fixed it. Okay. It was that fucker. It was you. The dad is getting increasingly worried about Janet, especially since she seemed to be in some sort of fugue state. But he makes sure the kids are good and in bed, and he tells them good night, but right after that, he hears strange noises hereby in the woods. Thinking it's his wife, he investigates the noises, but he doesn't find her anywhere. Just in case she is nearby, he apologizes out loud for the way he's been acting the past few days, and he begs for her to come back. Maybe Melvin calling him out actually made him realize how shitty of a dad and husband he was being. But just before he heads back to camp, a gust of wind blows, and he takes a deep breath, soaking in all the not so fresh air. Later that night, Jacqueline hears a strange noise outside their tent, and she wakes up Jack to ask if he hears it too. He does, but he thinks it's just some tree or something scraping against the tent. But Jacqueline isn't buying that.
This isn't Lord of the Rings. Dad!
Guys, calm down. It's a wolf. You're in the woods. I think that's like a pretty normal thing to hear when you're in the woods. Now, the walking outside the tent, that's a bit freakier. The next morning, the group are once again on the trail, but their dad is acting very strange. He's not talking to them, and he's hightailing it up the mountain. Finally, after a minute of calling his name, he turns around and he is completely green. Jack offers that he takes a break or at least drinks some water, but their dad doesn't say anything. Jack says that they really should be heading back down the mountain to go get help so that they can find their mom. But once again, he's silent. Now, all three of the kids are on the same page about putting their mom first and putting this silly competition second. And they even say that they will go back by themselves if it really means that much to him to make it to the top of the mountain to beat this guy in this competition. And finally, their dad responds. He rips the map up where the kids can't read it and only says, "Up," and then starts moving without saying another word. We cut to later that day, and the dad is only getting greener, and the kids are getting so tired that they can barely stand up. But they finally made it to the top of the mountain. At first, they take in the view, but they quickly realize that their mom beat them up there. They walk over to their mom, and what they see next is one of the most disturbing things in the entire series. Their mom is emotionless, standing still with mushrooms and other plants growing out of her face. And they turn to see that their dad has also been infected. They look around and see multiple people standing there, not making a sound, and covered in different mushrooms and mosses, almost like they're soaking up the sun. The kids stand there in shock as their dad opens his mouth and a yellowish green powder pours out. Melvin thinks quickly and tells them to hold their breath and run away. And when they get far enough away, he pulls out his book that we saw from earlier and discovers that it could be cordyceps, a type of parasitic fungus that takes control of the host's brain. In real life, it mostly affects insects like ants, and it makes them go as high up as possible before the insect dies, so the sunlight helps it produce more spores so it can spread itself out even farther. So the show actually did that right, because all these people were infected and instantly headed straight up the mountain without turning back. But since they're up there and they have actual mushrooms growing out of their face, that probably means they're dead. When Melvin breaks the news to his brother and sister that their parents are dead, Jacqueline does not want to accept this fact. She panics and starts screaming, there must be something they can do.
There has to be something. We gotta do something!
As Melvin and Jack talk out the situation, Jacqueline starts acting a bit weird, and slowly a pink mushroom starts growing out of her ear. Jack is stunned. All he can do is stare at her as his sister beckons him to join her, claiming it doesn't hurt. Melvin tries his best to get Jack to escape with him, but Jacqueline suddenly says,
I'm thinking of a word.
Sunlight.
and just like his sister, Jack is infected by the killer fungus. Now that his whole family is dead, Melvin runs all the way down the mountain through the woods to the family car, where he runs into the creepy ranger. He tells the ranger what happened, but little did he know the ranger was also already infected, and he takes this opportunity to make Melvin join them. And that's where the episode ends. Yep, it was a downer ending of the series. The last downer ending of the series. And in my opinion, one of the most effective downer endings. While I do think this episode is a bit slow at times, I do think it gets a bit too much hate. I mean, some people were very upset that it won the poll. I think the episode is pretty good. It's got an interesting story and an interesting concept, and it came out around the time where fungus zombies were the new cool thing, and this episode does a great job at making a very, very creepy episode with this concept. And I love how they show the spores in this episode because you can't see spores with a naked eye, but they kind of make it look like pollen. Very weird moving pollen, but pollen nonetheless. And I love how they actually did at least a little research on cordyceps before making the episode. In real life, it forces the host to move upwards so it can get the most sun, and everyone who was infected by it seemed to lose all access to their brain. I mean, the mom completely ignored them as they were calling for her, and the dad was just fast tracking it up the mountain no matter how exhausted his kids were. And of course, I have to talk about the great CGI in this episode. The Haunting Hour has used CGI a bit in the series, and sometimes it doesn't look that great, but it's enough to get a scare like in the episode The Dead Bodies. Not the best use of CGI, but it did its job. But the CGI in this episode was great. Honestly, shockingly good. When the mushrooms finally grew out of the dad's face, I literally said, whoa. That's crazy. I expected them to kind of have like a cop out, have them do makeup on him and like do like a pan up or something, you know? But I'm glad they gave us this awesome scene. It's super effective and it makes you feel bad for the guy. And they even double down and give another one to Jacqueline. I just love it. Jacqueline's is actually cooler in my opinion. I like how it comes out of her ear. Creeped Out also did a similar episode to this in Bravery Badge, except for in that episode, I believe it was moss, but it was like a moss that, you know, took over their brain, made them sing a creepy little song. But in my opinion, that episode kind of fell a little flat compared to this episode. I feel like they did a great job at making like a zombie fungus horror show. But that episode did have like a good ending where they fixed everything with music. This episode, nope. Everybody died. Literally everybody died. And that's why I like the Haunting Hour sometimes. They're not afraid to, kill people. That's it. I also have to mention the incredible makeup on their mother. The first time you see her covered in moss and mushrooms, it's equally horrifying and kind of depressing. And besides Melvin, she's the best character in the episode, so you hate to see her die like this. As for the other missing hikers, it still looks cool, but not as cool as the Dixel family, in my opinion. Like for them, it was like, you know, mushrooms and stuff were coming out of certain body parts, but for the other guys, it was like they're just covered in it, which I guess they could be there for a long time, so more stuff is growing on them. That does kind of make sense. It just wasn't as cool. Kind of like they just put on suits and masks. But there's one dude with the green eyes. That is freaky. They should have kept him around a little bit longer. And they do a great job at making you care for Melvin pretty quickly in this episode. He's so obviously the black sheep of the family. The poor kid is practically bullied by his dad and siblings, and the only one that seems to think about his feelings or even care for him is his mom. I mean, everyone else's name starts with a J, and his name starts with an M, and that's just one of many reasons that make him feel like he doesn't fit in with the family. I mean, the poor kid even tested his own DNA to his family to prove to himself that he was switched at birth or something, and when he wasn't, it seemed like he was depressed. He's also so incredibly smart, almost too smart for his own good. It makes him so scared of everything and kind of slightly annoying. But that doesn't matter because he looks like Linguini from Ratatouille and everyone loves that guy. But pretty much the whole time you feel bad for Melvin and you really root for him to survive and make it through this. But sadly, no one survives. Once again, no one survives. I'm just gonna keep pushing that in. Now, what I've been waiting for, what you've been waiting for. The dad. I seriously think the dad in this episode is a narcissist. Not like, he's a narcissist, No. Like, seriously, massively diagnosed narcissist. He literally only thinks about himself for most of the episode. I say most because it seems like he starts to worry about his wife after she goes missing. And I've already mentioned it like 2 times before, but he named 2 of his kids after him. And he only seems to care for both of those kids. His wife and youngest son are just second thoughts, and he proved that by offering to leave them behind to beat one of his coworkers up the mountain. And not to mention the whole scene where Melvin confronts him about making every vacation about him. They have to go where he wants to go. They have to do what he wants to do. But of course he tries to save it by saying he wants to keep the family unit, but I'm not falling for that. Narcissists try to make you feel bad when you call them out for their bullshit. Better they just bust into tears or make it your fault somehow. You can still be a family unit and go places that everyone would enjoy. Even when he was a fungus zombie, he ripped the map apart so his kids didn't know their way down the mountain. It's so deeply embedded into him that even when a parasite has taken over his brain, he can't not be an asshole. asshole. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there before I yell my voice away. Put him on the list of bad parents in The Haunting Hour and Goosebumps and all these TV shows. There's so many bad parents in these TV shows. Honestly, this episode isn't bad at all. Sure, it's not one of the greatest episodes of the series, but it's not bad. I mean, the series has much worse. It has a good story, great body horror, and a haunting ending. But I do think they could have done more with the nighttime scenes. Have one of the missing hikers kind of stalk the family or something just to make it a bit creepier, you know? But other than that, it's just like a mid Haunting Hour episode. I don't know, let me know what you think about this episode in the comments below. I have a Patreon. The $5 members get bonus content plus videos a day early, maybe some pictures of my cats, also a Discord server and your name right here on screen. And I want to thank a few Patreon members: Judith Sonnet, Nicole Story, JR Green, Simply Colin, Scooby, and Michelle Tolliver. Thank you guys for supporting me directly. Like the video if you like the video. Thank you for watching the video all the way through. I appreciate you all, and peace.